We are back, folks, ready to sit down and wait for our AM class race to get going. Thank you all for sticking around. Obviously, a connection failure to the server as it gets set back up for today's AM action. We will see if Dan Double Alpha is able to join us for commentary today, but if not, that's okay. He's probably tired after all of that driving. And we will get in there now and see if any of our drivers have joined. Kipster saying the track was an ice rink. I see it is currently not raining, so we will have to see if that gets bounced or not. Again, I thank you all for joining us today. A lot of fun to be had, even in the rain, unless maybe you're a driver. That's when things get a little crazy. I do hope Dan joins, or Max Charb, you are welcome to come on in here and join as well. I would love to hear, I think, because really we missed most of them, but about the incidents between you and Dan. You guys both pit started, both running together, had a few incidents. We did catch one of them where you were spun in the bus stop by Dan giving you a nudge up through there. But beyond that, I know you guys ended up playing more than once. It'd be great to hear about that, so feel free to join me. Come on in and talk about it while we wait for the AM class race to get started. If not, however, I will entertain y'all by just sitting here and looking like me. This is my moneymaker, so y'all feel free to talk about it. And while we do that, I will continue to keep an eye on this server and see when people start to join. I see the drivers meeting is going on right now. So hopefully we'll get some action soon. And get folks jumping in to the server. Hello, Josh. How are you? Josh the G. As I say, guys, as you can see on the side of your screen right there, Dan Double Alpha, B Fife, Chief Blaze is not around today, but we need to keep an eye out and see if any of these guys will be streaming. I will be taking a look. And joining me now, Max Charb, one of our pro class racers. Max, did you have fun?
Hi. If I had fun. Next question.
Well, no, I mean, obviously, again, you spun. Okay, so you spun during the lap, right? During the opening, the warm up lap. Dumped yourself back to the pits. But you pit started with Dan. But what happened? Because we saw one incident between the two of y'all where he gave you the push, he gave that position back, but you lost two because two other drivers got around. What happened after that? Because we found your car on track just smashed to hell.
Yeah, well, let's start by the start. So I exit the pit lane because, as you said, I spun during the formation lap,
Mm-hmm.
and I was from the pit. And in the pit exit, there was Epic GT.
Okay.
And right as I went to pass him, he moves, he moves, and I collect 10 seconds of damage at the start of the race.
Oy vey.
Yeah,
Wow.
and then well, the first spin with Dan, it's I was simply going too slow and into the chicane. He couldn't predict my slow movement, so he slightly touched me on the back, and I spun. He waited
Okay.
for me though,
Yeah, he did. He
and
did.
and next, well, we're in Blanchimont, going for the bus stop, and he lost it in front of me. I failed to predict where his car would go, so I slammed right into him, and
Gotcha.
that was a minute and a half of damage,
Yeah, well, we
and
saw
that
both
was my
you.
race.
We saw both of you head into the pits, and both of you looked busted up. So I knew it was something because you guys were running so close. We kind of figured it was the two of you together. But my goodness, yeah, not an easy race for anybody, I think, right? Obviously, you struggled in the rain. I know you've practiced there, but it's not easy, right? It's just
No,
I
I practice a lot, but I just don't have the experience yet. So
yeah,
we need
yeah.
some more of those wet races, and eventually, it will feel more natural and less sweaty while I drive.
Exactly. And you know what? I would agree with you. I think we need more wet races in the league. I think, and not to torture people, right? It's not to punish people. It's not to make people struggle. It's that to me the weather, again, it's a simulator, right? The weather should be unpredictable. I think is the right way to put it. And yeah, okay, so on the British tracks there's a higher chance of rain than there is say at Laguna Seca, right? Try and at least make it real. And that's what I like. That one thing I like that the Xbox League is doing, or I'm sorry, the PC League is doing, is they're looking at the forecast for that day, and that's how they're setting the server. It was supposed to rain for
Yeah,
them yesterday too, but the weather forecast cleared, so they changed the server to match the forecast, and it ended up not raining during the PC race.
and actually, driving in the rain is kind of fun once you once you get it.
Yeah, and that
It re-
yep, 100%. And Red and I talked about that actually, because I did and TG Barry bounces a wall during qual. Um, Red and I talked about that a little bit because we did the endurance race back there a few months back. During the rain, it was fine, right? It was when it went from rain to dry that it got hard. So,
yeah, then you don't know about. Sorry, I'm having issues with the push to talk. So yeah,
oh,
when the
no problem.
temperature change, we don't have the right pressures, the tires overheat or
Exactly.
cold blue. Yeah, that's actually that had some spice to the game. So
It
yeah,
does. It does.
I'd rather get good at wet driving than never having to drive in the wet.
I agree with you there. And TG in the chat said he is also looking at realistic weather for the Xbox side to see if that's possible. So that would be fantastic. Kiko, Epic GT
All
is
right.
your brother. Okay. Very good, Kiko.
On
Thank
that
you.
note, I'm going to leave you, Monson. See ya.
Sounds good, sir. Thank you so much for jumping in, Max. I appreciate it, man. So let's jump over now to qualifying. As we see TG Barry, El Dermo, Red Rider, Outer Known, Roodster, D2, Palm Tree, BB Lightfoot, and Snoopy have all joined thus far. TG Barry, first one out on track. We saw him scrub wall coming out of radio right in his opening lap. We'll see if he can dial that in a little bit. And our AM class drivers getting a dry track for qual. With just under 12 minutes left to go. We'll see if that holds or if, and TG Barry sliding. And I can tell you from experience that will happen if you attempt to take that corner too fast or at the wrong angle. Oh, 1 second, Fife. Stand by, sir. I can help you out with that. There you go. Look down at the bottom. There's another channel down there, Fife. You should be able to see it now. So again, TG Barry, our first one out on track with El Dermo, and that is B Fife right there. Beefy joining us this afternoon. How are you, sir? If he can hear me. Maybe he can't. That's okay. Red Rider now out on track. Joined us earlier for Pro Race commentary. Did an excellent job. Now going to race in our AM class today with Roodster out as well. Running right behind BB Lightfoot. D2 Rev still sitting in the pits. But Palm Tree Oil out and running now. Roodster letting him on by. And Snoopy still sitting in the pits in his Bentley as well. Only 9 drivers so far today. I knew we would be missing Chief Blaze, but I did expect more of our AM class drivers than just 9.
They probably saw the pro race and decided, you know what, this is the one I'm gonna let drop at the end of the
right?
season.
This is the one I'm done with. Now I don't know. I thought I saw more than that in the drivers' meeting, so maybe not. But B Fife, how was your race, sir?
It could have been worse, I guess.
What?
Me
Let me
and
ask
Nat
you
were
this.
so close, and then I just, under braking after the first straight, caught a puddle, and it just spun my car around. I did a 360. Managed not to stall the car, but
Okay.
we were doing such similar lap times, I wasn't able to start reeling him in or anything. He's so consistent.
He is, and that's what I kind of wondered. That was my question for you, was what happened, because you were keeping him to within a second, right? Easily keeping him to within a second, and all of a sudden you were 9 seconds back, and I'm like, okay, well, something happened, obviously. We just weren't sure what, because we didn't catch your spin. So
Yeah, it was just a spin and no damage or anything, so didn't need to pit, didn't really damage the tires. But yeah, like I said, he's just so quick.
absolutely. So El Dermo setting our first time so far today with a 2:26.4. Obviously in the dry, and again, I don't know that anyone is going to go in and make changes to the server. 30 minutes out is still showing us as just cloudy. I don't know, given the crash, that anyone's going to go in and try and make changes today. If these guys end up driving in the dry, they end up driving in the dry. I think that's kind of where we're at. JB Racer now joining in, one of our PC racers, jumping into the M-Class race as well for Xbox today. You know, it's so funny, too, Fife, talking to you, you know, like, I know what times I'm used to seeing on Spa for pro drivers, and it's just amazing how much time the rain cuts during qualifying, right? Like, a good time was, we saw 229s, we saw 230s. A dry lap on this track is a 219, 218 for a pro class driver, right?
Yeah, Spa, I'm not the quickest on. I usually do right around like 220s in the dry, maybe dip under that. But yeah, I mean, I was ecstatic to get I think I got a 228 point something in the wet race and was excited about that.
It just hammers down so hard, right? So
Yeah, the tricky thing here for these guys is like, I was happy that our race looked like it was at least going to be similar weather the whole time. But if it goes from dry to wet or wet to dry, it's all about figuring out at what point you need to switch tires. And that's usually you figure that out after you've already spun.
yeah, and that we discussed that a little bit during your race, was that, when we did the Spa earlier this year, the endurance race, I was actually doing okay in the wet, right? It started off as a rain race for the endurance. For the first, I want to say 7 to 10 minutes, it was raining. Now I'm not you, right? I don't drive your pace. I'm a slower driver. I'm an AM class driver. My point being is, once I found my pace and once I found where things needed to land, I was doing okay. I was holding on. It was the minute that it stopped raining, switched tires, wrong setup now, and everywhere I went, I was sliding because I just could not get things set properly, right? So yeah, that's a huge issue, and I think that change from dry to wet or wet to dry plays harder with people than just being rain the whole time does.
Yeah, 100%. Because usually, you're never ever going to get a setup exactly right. But say if I have, I practice in the rain and the track temperature's 30 degrees, and then I get in the race and the track temperature's 33, and I'll adjust my tire pressure to try to match it. But they're never going to be off so bad that it's really going to affect me that much. But trying to predict what your dry tire pressures need to be after you've been doing half the race in wet and then it dries out, that's the really, really tricky part.
Yeah, and not just that too. It's also, if you go in early, you've got to think about, okay, am I setting up for now, or am I setting up for no more rain? It's going to continue to dry out. These tire pressures are going to continue to go up if I don't set them lower now and maybe deal with some issues. Versus, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's that whole thing. It's
100%.
continually changing. From wet to dry takes maybe half an hour, and during that whole time, your pressures are changing. The temperatures are going up. You can end up really screwing yourself out of being able to keep up if you don't set it just right in there. And again, you always try to get close. Nothing's perfect, but still, it's not something that's easy to do. So we'll see what happens with our AM class race today. But they're getting to qualify in the dry. We'll let them have it, I guess.
Yeah, one other thing with this race specifically is, it's just long enough where you're likely to be able to make the whole race on one tank of fuel. But when I was doing my calculations, if it was dry the whole time, I would have had to do some severe fuel saving at the end. But if it was wet, I most likely wouldn't have to.
Okay.
So that's another thing to think about is if the race starts dry and you're planning on a one pit stop thinking it's going to rain later and then it never does, you might have to significantly slow down to not run out of fuel.
Gotcha. Yeah, we watched the PC race yesterday where some of the guys had to stop, some of them did not. They were able to run the whole race with no problems, but in the Discord talked about how they were having to conserve fuel towards the end of the race. So absolutely makes sense. So we take a look real quick just to catch up. Roodster setting a time of 2:22.8, currently our pole sitter, with El Dermo right behind him. Red Rider sitting in third. El Dermo 2/10 off the pace. Red just about around 4. Outer Known sitting in fourth with Palm Tree Oil in fifth and BB Lightfoot in sixth. Barry, D2, Snoopy, Jay Bracer, and Pierre yet to set times. We're up to 11 drivers for today's AM Class race. I'd almost jump in and race with these guys if I hadn't been drinking. But I have a feeling if I jump in there now, I'll be more of a hazard than anything.
Nah, just start in the pits and then you'll be fine.
Right. Well, that didn't work out too well for Max and Dan. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. They tried. They both came out of the pits, but it did not work out completely for them. So we will see if the weather holds. Just over 3 minutes left in qualifying today. Joined by Mr. B. Fife. We see Outer Known now jumping up front with a 2:22.5, pushing Roodster back just a nudge into P2. Well, and take a look at timetables real quick. El Dermo holding purple in 2 sectors, currently sitting in third, but just under a second slower in sector 2, which is causing that third place finish right now for qualifying, as Outer Known continues to hold on to it with 4 laps down. Snoopy, JB Racer, and Pierre yet to set laps. Back to our typical AM Class race. We've got 4 Bentleys on track today. BB Lightfoot joining the fray. And Roodster in the Honda up front in P2, showing that maybe Dunn picking that and Red deciding to take a drive through the Toolies. That lap will not count. But Roodster showing that the Honda can pace and is currently sitting in P2 with it. Maybe Dunn's just bad at driving the Honda. That's why he didn't do so well last week. D2 Rev back out on track.
It's going to be a close battle up front.
It is. These guys are setting some tight times. And of course we all know, race pace is different from qual pace, right? You just can't maintain that the whole time. But still,
Yeah, and then if it ends up raining too, it's more about survival than lap times.
it is. It really is. Max Sharp, I posted clips and highlights how exiting the pit was on lap 1. You'll find it interesting. I will go take a look, Max. Does not surprise me. That pit exit puddle is a well-known one. That is for sure. Nobody likes that pit exit. That is absolutely for sure. At least in the rain. Outer Known continuing to hold pole right now with a 2:22.5. I think a decent time for an AM Class driver. I mean, I just can... who am I going to compare it to? I can compare it to myself, and that's where I sit, as my fastest are in the 2:22s. So many of our other drivers, as qualifying runs out, already sitting in the pits. As we jump out to our helicopter view to get ready for today's race. Qualifying ended. We'll wait and see as times come in. Outer Known and El Dermo, along with Palm Tree Oil and Snoopy, still out on track. Snoopy finished, however. We'll wait and see if these change. But as of right now, Outer Known and Roodster holding row 1 going into today's endurance race, along with D2 and El Dermo in row 2. Red Rider and Palm Tree Oil row 3. JB Racer. BB Lightfoot holding down row 4 with TG Berry, Snoopy in row 5. And Pierre sitting in row 6 all by himself in P11, having not set a time. We will see what the weather comes back as the race loads. El Dermo getting himself now up into first with that final lap with a 2:22.4, edging out Outer Known by just over a tenth of a second, pushing everyone down the list. We'll see if Outer Known can pull out a quick last lap here. And I would jump on board with him, but I don't wish to screw up our camera view for the first lap of the race. Outer Known able to
pretty
take
much perfect.
Yep,
Pretty much perfect through the chicane.
Well, he took back pole position on that
got
last
it.
lap
Nice.
with a 2:22.2 flat. And there we have it. That is your starting grid right there, ladies and gentlemen. Outer Known and El Dermo battling back and forth for pole position will lead in row 1. Roodster in D2, row 2. Red Rider and Palm Tree Oil in row 3. JB Racer, who I still want to call J Bracer. Oh my god, if I don't get this camera right, somebody's going to yell at me for the opening lap. And there you go, folks. It is raining for race day, and looking at the weather, it is only showing clouds in 10 minutes and in 30 minutes, so this may clear quickly. Again, going into what Mr. Fife and I just talked about, where there's going to be, the drivers are going to have to adjust. They're going to have to decide, when do I go in? When is the track dry enough to go and switch tires? What do my pressures need to be? Because I don't want to plan for the first, for the next 5 minutes. It's not the next 2 laps I have to worry about. It's the next 45 minutes I have to worry about. And where do I set my pressures to ensure that they come up at some point as quickly as possible, but not overshooting that point, get to the right range so that I don't have wear, right? So again, is that weather accurate that it's showing in 10 to 30? We don't know. We'll have to see if this dries out during today's race. It's going to get curious. Stick right here for the next 70 minutes, hopefully, if the servers, the G-Portal server gods be willing, for the next 30 minutes of GT3 racing here with Green Hell Racing League, AM Class Xbox Racing. I do want to take time up front. Mm-hmm.
You really want to start on wets, because even if it stops, like at least on your screen, it's showing rain still. So, but even if it stops raining, there's still going to be a good amount of standing water on the track. So yeah, it's kind of the worst situation to be in, the wet to dry situation, like Max said.
Yeah, it is, and that's what I think. I mean, I think if it's raining the whole race, and again, we saw pro drivers struggle with it, but I think if it's raining the whole race, if you can find your pace, if you can settle down into a groove, you can drive in such a way that it allows you to keep pace and stay consistent because it's raining the whole time, right? Consistent weather, consistent driving. It's when it makes that change that it's going to get bad. And who goes in when, and where do we see it go? And yeah, it's going to be fun. Namaste Maru from our pro class race with you, Fife, already posting images of the opening. Dunn earlier dared me to take clips of all the spinning and set it to ballet music.
Yeah, I didn't see. Was there a big accident turn 1? I saw Jim spin right behind me, but I couldn't see what happened after that.
We had at least I want to say 4 cars tied up at radio. Stolowski went off on the straight along with others. So yeah, T1 was pretty brutal coming up through Eau Rouge. It was pretty rough. It got rough. And yes, Namaste in the chat. Yes, I am watching Discord on the other screen, knowing that you've already thrown up the clips, sir.
I asked Jim what happened. He told me his strategy was running the aggressive setup.
Oh Lord. Well, that's what's so hard, right? Especially in a situation like we're looking at right now, with 30 seconds to go until our formation lap, is that you have to pick your setup at the beginning of the race. With
Yep.
I mean, we don't know what the weather's going to be for the entire 70 minutes. So you have to pick your setup at the beginning, but if it goes from wet, so going on that standard wet setup, it seems like a good idea, but if you go back to a dry track, you're not going to be anywhere near as fast. You're going to be anywhere near as stable. So what I've been told, and Fife, again, you're a pro driver, maybe you can give some tips because I certainly don't know what to do. If you're starting in the wet, pick your normal setup, throw the wet tires on, and go. Try to set your pressures as best you can, right? That way, at least if it dries out, you've got your normal setup. It really just comes down to now deciding, A, when to put the dries on, and B, what those pressures should be when you do it. Would you agree with that strategy, or is that something the guys should do, or I don't know?
It really depends on how much rain. For me, I tend to just go the safe route. So I'm like, I have a greater chance of crashing in the wet than in the dry. So I normally, like for this race, I just loaded the wet setup. Because my thinking is I can swap to dry tires, and then you're still able to adjust the traction control, ABS, brake bias, all that in the middle of the race, the MFD. And you can also adjust the tire pressures before you go in the pits to, if you realize, oh, if I run with this setup I had, it's going to be either too hot or too cold. You can change that. So it's really the wet setup will just be a little more understeer than anything. And I find I would rather take that risk than hope that it dries out and then it doesn't dry out as fast as I thought it would.
Okay, gotcha. That's why I love when you guys come on here, because I get to ask questions that make me smarter.
Yeah, well, I mean, Nat JB could come in here and be like, no, I do the exact opposite.
Yeah,
so
for sure. No, I know.
I tend to be on the safe side rather than risking it personally.
Gotcha. We will see what happens, Mr. Peanut Butter, because looking right now, Nat JB in the chat says, "Huh? What's the question?" He must have heard his name. That's
So Nat, if it's going to start wet and looks like it's going to dry out later, do you start on your dry setup and just throw wet tires on and get the pressures right, or do you start on the wet setup and then just plan to throw dry tires on at the end and adjust your traction control and all that?
So TG says, could be dry later on. That's just the variable. If you're interested, I can tell you the exact values. Okay, so that's not answering the question, though. So we'll wait and hear from Nat and see what he has to say. Namaste Maru saying definitely start wet tires. And I think if it's raining when I'm sitting on the line, I'm definitely putting wet tires on, right? I mean, even look at the weather report. It's raining now. It could mean a lap 3 pit, but it's raining right now. I should probably put wet tires on.
Yeah, see, Nat's saying start with dry setup and do changes and just throw wet tires on.
So you have it, folks. 2 completely different answers to a question. As expected, though, because it's personal preference, right? It's what you're more comfortable with. It's what you drive better with. So I think that makes sense in regards to that. Gotcha, TG. Thank you, sir. So we
really interested to see how the start goes, because everyone was, doing their practice during qualifying in the dry. So hopefully no one misjudges a breaking point.
Oh, they will, sir. They will. again, I'm not making fun of anyone. It's in the wet. And if, the expectation was driving in the wet this week. But if that's not what's happening, again, qualifying, as you said, in the dry, will they remember that they're now in the wet? Because they just ran 5 or 6 laps with specific break points and trying to set the best time and going as fast as possible. You can't go as fast as possible in the rain. Again, we talk about pro times, 2:18s, 2:19s in the dry. The fastest qual time during our pro race was a 2:28, a high 2:28, low 2:29. So you're talking 10 seconds difference. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of time to remember now after 5 or 6 laps that you just drove. I better back it off. We shall see what happens.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see if the weather we're seeing is accurate and if it's just going to start drying out after one lap.
Right. Knowing their luck, it will. And we do see right now we're focused on D2 Rev in 4th. He is currently on wet tires. As we come down into double file, getting ready for the green light, we will jump out to the action as quickly as possible. Green, green, green. Here we go, folks. It is in the rain, and we are at Spa in Belgium as our drivers tuck in, ready to head up through Eau Rouge and Radion. Everybody playing it easy coming up through there. One advantage the AM class drivers have is watching the pro class race to see exactly what happens. And jumping back through now, it looks as though everyone made it up through T1 without issue. Outer known pulling out ahead right now. El Dermo right behind him. Got some side-by-side action going back here with the double Lexus between El Dermo and Palm Tree Oil. A little bump. El Dermo getting pushed out. Losing a few positions due to it. Dermo now behind Red Rider and JB Racer. So having lost some positions there. Racer now looking to take the inside on Red Rider. Nudging ahead and able to claim it. El Dermo doing the same. Red playing very conservative right now, but able to pull it back out ahead of El Dermo. With no bumping. As we jump back up front. Go ahead, Fife.
I was going to say, it's hard to win the race if you get in an accident in lap 1. Better to drive safe off the start.
Outer Known D2 Rev now in 2nd position behind Outer Known. Working himself up. We see Rootster in 3rd with TG Berry right behind him. TG Berry suffering some issues last week, but now showing himself doing well so far, running in 4th. So we jump back to Red Rider, now opening it up over JB Racer. Or, I'm sorry, over El Dermo, with Pierre catching up to El Dermo very quickly. Into the bus stop for the first time today. Excellent start to this race for our AM class drivers. And again, one advantage these guys have, if we talk about advantages, and Rootster now sneaking himself around Barry on the inside at La Source, claiming 3rd. As we watch our drivers come back.
D2 Rev got past Outer Known too.
Yes, he did. I even missed that one. Rootster open it up, and yeah, D2 Rev now leading around Outer Known. In his Mercedes. Outer Known in that Ferrari. With Rootster still holding on to 3rd in the Honda and TG Berry right behind him in the Bentley. So very close up front so far. D2 trying to pull it out. Namaste Maru saying that Snoopy's wheel stopped working. As we go back and check on poor Snoopy as he bangs off the wall coming out of the pits. We may have an issue there, but let's jump back up front. as our front four running very close right now. And Pierre, as we look at the graphs, Pierre holding very close to El Dermo a little further back. But as I was saying earlier, you know, one option, call it an advantage if you want to, but our AM class drivers do have one advantage, and that's that they can come here, they see the pro race, they see what happens, they see how things go, and they collectively, not collectively, right? None of them, you know, they're not all talking to each other. They're not all sitting in a room on Discord somewhere going, hey, did you see what happened in the pro race? But they have opportunity, each one of them individually, to sit back and go, you know what? I don't want that to be me heading up out of radio in lap 1. And so we see a very clean start to our AM class race today. Barry now tightening it up on Roodster. D2 stretching it out ahead of Outer Known right now by 1.5 seconds. Barry right on the bumper. Roodster taking a cut through the grass, giving Barry the opening. And he's able to make that pass before heading into the bus stop to start lap 3. Excellent move by Barry again after some struggles last week with pit strategy and drive-thrus. Seeing him now sitting in 3rd. Doing very well for himself, but Roodster not content with that 4th place position. Kifster looking at the weather now, showing rain, slacking off at 30 minutes slightly. Roodster right on the back end of Barry, coming down the hill into Eau Rouge. And deciding to play that, yeah.
Yeah, that was smart to play it safe there.
It was. I'm trying to think of what to say, and I'm like, yeah, I guess he got smart real quick. So right now showing rain slacking off at 30 minutes, but as we saw during the pro race, that slacking doesn't really appear any different on our end, where it's a little hard to tell what the drivers see. But overall, Barry sliding now as he comes out. Overall, still rain for the next 3 minutes, and the track staying wet right now.
Yeah, and it looks like it's the medium rain too, not heavy rain, so that's good. The track should stay wet, but shouldn't get any more flooded than it is right now.
Gotcha, okay. And someone off track right there. Outer Known against the wall. Coming out of the turn with no name. Losing positions. JB Racer now catching up with him, who was currently in 5th, so that should drop him back quite a bit. JB able to make the pass as Outer Known gets his feet back under him.
It doesn't look like it was too high speed, so I doubt there's much damage, if any.
Yeah. Outer Known quickly taking the position back from Racer. Nat saying it arguably got worse during the pro race. He's not wrong. I mean, we did see plus signs next to that rain throughout the entire first half of that race. So obviously slacking off afterwards just brings it back to nominal or where it started. But we were seeing increasing rain throughout the entire first half of the race as we watched. D2
yeah, it was
Rev.
weird for me.
Mm-hmm.
Certain spots, I felt like certain turns I got faster on and had less water, and then other turns, it felt like they kept getting more standing water. I was doing like the same lap times, but doing better and worse in different sectors.
Really? Okay. That is interesting. D2 Rev now opening it up 4.7 seconds over TG Barry, currently running in 2nd. Roodster right there, only 1.1 behind, but Outer Known now 8 seconds off his pace and having to fend off JB Racer as we watch him come through La Source again. We will see if Racer believes in the discretion is the better part of valor. As we look there, BB Lightfoot sitting in the pits as the racers go by. Racer having to go wide coming out. Unable to parlay it into something of a challenge to Known. So BB Lightfoot already into the pits, and we have already lost one of our drivers today. So we take a look back through the standings. Red Rider currently sitting in 6th, minding his own business all by himself, with Pierre 3.7 off pace. El Dermo right behind him. And Palm Tree Oil still out on track as BB exits the pits and gets ready for the rest of his race today. But again, D2 Rev quickly up front, holding his own and extending his lead to 5 seconds over TG Berry right now. We'll be curious to see Outer Known, one of our faster AM class racers, if he is able to close gap and start making some passes as the race goes on. Still 1 hour and 30 seconds left to go in today's Green Hell Racing AM class race. So we watch D2 Rev coming around that wide left-hand turn, headed for the bus stop. And we will go on board with him for a lap now as our drivers spread out, giving us an opportunity to take a look at what these guys are seeing today. Give us an idea of what sort of conditions they are dealing with. D2's best time so far, a 2:35.6 as we see up there, and that was also his last lap with clear air in front of him. Easy for him to try and run to push the best laps possible. Currently sitting with 6.6 over TG Berry behind him in second place. That corner right there being the one that always played hell with me in the rain. I like to slide down through here. Much more fun that way.
Yeah, once you start going wide and you catch that outside curb, it's a done deal for you.
Yeah, down through, I mean, all the way through, really just through Pouchon and all the way down, but that was my worst part in the rain on this track. I found the rest of it, I don't know. I don't want to say easy, again, because I'm not slow. Blanchimont can be a little squirrely. But really, if you can make it through Radion and Pouchon, you're doing well, I think, on Spa in the wet. I think the rest of it just kind of comes together, maybe. I don't know. At least it did for me.
Yeah, it's weird. In the dry, Eau Rouge and Radion are the two hardest turns. But in the wet, it's really not... I guess you're going slow enough where it's really not too bad. But in the dry, if you're not pushing super hard, then you're going to get past extremely quickly. So
yeah,
I usually find it in the wet. It's not as sketchy.
Nope, 100% I agree with that one. And there we go. As we watch D2 Rev cuts a little bit of time off his best lap. As I forget that I have to do one thing before the other so that we can change drivers. Take a look back now. Pierre catching up with El Dermo as they come down through Blanchimont. Pouchon? Did I just say Pouchon? Well, it's a French word, and that's probably how you would pronounce it. I can find out, though. Yeah, I can find out right now. If TG's going to make fun of me, I'm going to find out.
I think, isn't TG actually French?
I don't know. I thought he was German. Pouchon. Pouhon. I'm sorry, I looked at it wrong. Okay, Pouhon. It's, yeah, never mind. I saw an S in there. These guys, listen, Fife, don't ever do this. Because all they do is laugh at you for the way you pronounce things. That's what they do. That's what they do. I saw an S in there. I apologize. Don't worry. I'll have all the pronunciations ready for the next spa race because every corner is a French name. So that's easy. I got someone in the house that can help me with that. Nordschleife. If you say that wrong, TG gets on you for it because he lives close to it. El Dermo now pulling out 2 seconds over Pierre. But a very tight slide right there is going to allow Pierre to tighten that back up. As we see Rootster now trying to close the gap on TG Barry. Bring things a little closer. The only reason I know that TG is German is because after getting disconnected 2 races in a row, one of them being an endurance, we all talked about how he was going to go myrtleize German ISP engineers for his internet connection. That's the only reason I remember it. TG, I am extremely jealous. I have a map of Spa on my wall. I actually have a map of both those tracks on my wall. I love my map track posters, but yeah, if you can, you let me know if you got time and energy while you're there, because Spa is absolutely my favorite track in the world, even in the rain. As we watch Red Rider, Outer Known, and JB Racer all tightening up in the rain. TG, if I had a passport, Outer Known diving into the pits, clearing the way for Red Rider now to take up 4th position. So I wonder why, because I don't see damage on Known's vehicle. Now we do know he did a little bit of a slide. There's a little scuffing on the front there, but it didn't really look like anything major, right? Like we didn't really see him hit hard. So
I have a feeling. Well, no, because they qualified in the dry. I was going to say maybe he forgot to change from qualifying fuel.
Mm-hmm.
But I imagine he would have loaded a whole different setup. So yeah, I'm not sure if it's damage or if tire pressures are way off or what.
Yeah, but for someone who started out in first, it's disheartening to see him now currently in 6th, and surely that's going to end up dropping as he comes down through the pits at this time. One of our faster drivers, but again, as we take a look, Pierre has now made the move in El Dermo, gotten out in front. Doing very well. Holding speed over El Dermo heading up to Kemmel Straight. TG, as I was saying, if I had a passport and Americans were allowed to travel to Europe right now, which I'm vaccinated, I would probably want to come to that Sim Racing Expo. It seems like it'd be a lot of fun. Rootster continuing to try and chase down TG Barry right now. As we look up at the weather once again with just over 52 minutes left to go, still showing rain for the next 30. I'm willing to bet we are going to have rain throughout the entire 70 minutes of today's AM Class race. El Dermo not giving up. Pierre doing very well. One of our slower AM Class drivers, but really right now currently sitting in 6th, right? Has made the pass on El Dermo. If he can hold that position, he's doing very well for himself today. The Bentley certainly has the chops and the fuel tank to go the full 70 minutes. We've seen that in the past. Namaste Maru, you are not wrong. I do love Pierre. Cat's awesome. TG definitely hit me up. Listen, I'm just happy you're going to be at Spa in the Nürburgring. If you find anything cool, certainly send me a message on Discord and I can certainly look to take care of you, sir. That's all I'm saying. I have an address. UPS comes up here every day. I'm just saying. I have PayPal too, so don't worry about it. Pierre with a little slide up over radio, but still keeping El Dermo at bay up through the straight.
Ooh, yeah, running inside there, that's tricky.
Yep.
'Cause if he gets on the gas hoys on that curve, he's going completely around. So all you can do is stay off the gas and go wide.
And Pierre going very wide. El Dermo able to take that position now. It almost looked like Pierre gave it up to him, caving under the pressure. And now slid and bounced himself off the wall, coming back down the hill. Pierre going to have to set himself right as El Dermo runs out ahead. But with a significant gap up to catch Mr. Red Rider, 1883, currently running in 5th. So Pierre now going to possibly end up in the pits with damage. The hood of his Bentley not looking that great. As we check up again up front, D2 heading back down the hill past the pits. Ready to go through Eau Rouge and Radion again. Riding up through very smooth now with an 11.8 second gap. Nothing much for him to worry about except maintaining consistency and keeping ahead of Roadster, who is obviously not closing at this time. We talked about that during the pro race too, that it seemed like a lot of curb use was going on. And as I told Red at that time, I mean, we see Roadster tuck it in a little bit and stay off the curb there coming out of Lacombe. But, I told Red, every track guide I watch says the exact same thing. Here's how much curb you can use, unless it's raining, and then don't touch it.
Yeah, it's basically like going over in oil. So at least when you're on the power. When you're not on the power, you can use them a little bit. But yeah, if you have a rear wheel on it and you gun it, it's essentially like an oil spill.
Okay. And there we go. Pierre into the pits, going to repair that damage. Shame too, doing very well holding up against El Dermo, making the pass, losing the position, but now with damage needing to head in and take care of that. Namaste says you can coast on the curbs, no brake or gas.
Yep. Having to pit on this track sucks too, because the pit lane is so damn long.
It's forever. Well, as we saw in the PC race yesterday, just a drive-through issued at the end of the race cost 80 seconds to Castro yesterday.
Yikes.
So, hey, Les, welcome in, man. Yeah, 80 seconds. And again, it happened in the last lap. He had no time to clear it. So he got an 80-second penalty tacked on at the end of the race. That's what the software assessed him for not clearing that drive-through. So, yeah. I think people take Spa pit stops very seriously. Outer known now very far back off pace after having to make a pit stop and losing position to D2. Not having his race in the rain today.
Well, Outer Knows he said he spun like a total of 3 times,
Oh
and
wow.
had to repair for damage. So yeah, just the damage wasn't showing up for us, I guess, on the replay too well.
Gotcha. And now about to play back marker to D2 Rev, which gets interesting because, qualling in first and holding first, P1 for such a long time that he did up front, um, his pace is not really probably going to be much off of D2's. So at what point are you a back marker? And what point are you just faster than the person behind you? Or just as fast, right? It's going to take a long time for those guys to clear each other.
Yeah, I mean, ideally they're very similar pace for D2. That way he doesn't have to worry about having to find a way around him, and that way, Outer Known doesn't have to pull out to the side to let him by. Because in the rain, any kind of passing back markers becomes trickier.
Absolutely. And
It
TG
looks like he
saying,
got
oh,
past Pierre though. Pierre's pit stop took long enough where Outer Known got past him.
he did. So I don't know, now running in 8th with Pierre back in 9th. No more dancing with El Dermo for right now as our drivers spread right out. 10 still on paddock today. TG says that's the normal penalty for not taking a drive-through, though I think it doesn't get adjusted per track. That seems interesting. That's curious. As we watch Pierre going very wide off into the Toolies. Again, not having his race today.
I don't think Roodster's really gaining on D2, but D2's also not pulling away from him. So one mistake from D2 and that can completely change the race for him.
Yeah, they're sitting very close. Well, not very close. They're 11 seconds, but to your point, they're not really. There's not a lot of change in that delta, right? So.
Yep.
All of our drivers now spread out quite a bit, which on Spa with only 10 cars, it's not hard to do. With your fastest lap time at a 2:18. But we can see Red struggling as well. Red Rider 1883 struggling just a little bit, having to change some things. Make adjustments on the fly because he was getting a little squirrely back there. And now we see TG Barry into the pits. A little surprising, obviously if he had damage, but a little bit surprising because we know that Bentley can make the 70 minutes, I think. I don't think there's any question about this. It's got a huge fuel tank on it. If you can stretch your tires.
It looks like he's got some rear damage. It's got to be damaged because even if I'm in third and I have light damage and it's not affecting the way my car's driving too much, I'm probably going to stay out.
Okay.
To want to pit in third, he's probably got quite a bit of damage.
Well, we'll see. He just stopped once already, which I didn't think there was a pit stop on the top half of the pit lane. But he pulled off and stopped up there. We'll have to see if he's bouncing off the blocks on the way down. Hopefully he doesn't run into the same trouble he did last
I think he's in the chat. He said fuel. I wonder if that's why he pulled over.
Oh, no kidding.
I think he pulled over to reply in the chat.
Gotcha. Underfueled, he said. Yep. Underfueled for TG Barry, now falling back to 5th as Red Rider comes around. Pierre running out by himself. Now BB Lightfoot, having gotten between D2 Rev and Outer Known, but still a back marker, should clear. Les, race has been going great. We had a little trouble with the server up front. Outer Known now making his way around BB Lightfoot, getting clear.
Ooh, this is a risky part to try that on.
BB going way wide to give him what he needed, it looks like. Rootster now closed into 8.3 seconds. I wonder if, last we looked it was 11. I got to wonder if D2 isn't slowing down a little bit.
He probably passing Outer Known and BB probably slowed him down a little bit, having to maneuver around them.
Yeah. We'll continue to keep an eye on that because that is now down to 7.7 seconds. And to your point, Fife, you know, it takes one mistake, right? You spin coming up through Origin Radio, and there's Roadster right there ready to take over. So
Yeah, I mean, my
hey,
spin,
CC.
I spun, didn't get any damage, didn't stall the car, and got back on the track, and I lost 11 seconds from Nat JB. So yeah, one spin is enough to lose a place or two.
CC, you say you play on Xbox Series X, ACC? Well, if I can get my thing to do what I want it to do. Thank you, Max. I was typing and it didn't work because it was on the other PC. Thank you so much, sir. This is where you come for all the racing action, CC. If I'm pronouncing that right, but I much appreciate you being here. I'm joined by B Fife, one of our pro class drivers. Max gave you that Discord link though. Come on over and join Green Hell Racing. You're in the middle of our AM class race. Just over 40 minutes to go. Let's take a walk down through, folks, real quick. D2 Rev still leading out with an 8.8 second lead over Roodster, 222. Rain the whole time, still slacking according to the 10-minute and 30-minute forecast. It doesn't look like it's slowed down any to me, but we will see. JB Racer currently in third. Red Rider moving his way up to fourth. Doing quite well. El Dermo, I'm seeing no rain, or very little rain where El Dermo is, so maybe it is starting to clear out. We'll have to see if we start getting dry parts of the track today. Palm Tree Oil currently running in 6th with TG Berry after having to make an early pit stop in 7th. Outer Known, after some trouble up front, getting passed by D2 Rev and then finding himself off in the grass, running in 8th with Pierre in 9th and BB Lightfoot, again, early pit stop, now in 10th. CC in with the Fanatec Club Sport V 2.5. Should definitely come and join us. Great bunch of racers. We argue, we scrap once in a while. That's all right. It's all what is needed. Fife likes to argue the most.
That's completely false.
I play it for short. I must put my SA higher. CC, listen, my SA right now is at 43. Don't worry about it. As long as you do your best to be as clean as possible, you will be very accepted at Green Hell. As Namaste laughs at my 43. I'm so happy that you're laughing at me because it was a 36 after the last time we ran drinking and driving with Chief Blaze on a Friday, and I worked it back up to a 43 from there. So, thanks, Namaste. Bunch of punks in my chat. You know what? It's a bunch of punks today, Fife.
Surprised you haven't accidentally banned them.
No, I
feel like that happens once per stream.
No, I haven't banned anybody today. I just emote only the chat though. Let them figure it out. So we watch Roodster. Now outside of 9 seconds up on D2 Rev. And again, JB Racer running in third, all by himself right now, able to cruise. And I am seeing dry. I'm seeing parts of this track with no rain. Coming off the end of the Kemmel straight into Lacombe. Bracer having to bounce the curbs, but I think there's no rain on Kemmel. Namaste upset me. I put the chat in emote only mode. I'll turn it off again. Max played along. He's a good guy. Let's see if we can go up with D2 Rev and go with another onboard, because I'm very curious, because as I come around to people, or to the drivers coming off the end of the Kemmel straight, I'm seeing no rain.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's just a weird
and that's what I'm wondering.
Replay camera view, because I think your driver from a distance, your driver doesn't have a helmet, and then as it gets closer to the camera, it puts the helmet on him. I wonder if it's something similar.
That's why I want to go on board with him. The rain doesn't look as heavy as he comes out of the bus stop. It really does not look as heavy as it was before. He's slowly been dropping his lap times. Just set his best at a 2:33.9. See TG with the support saying he remembers my essay being 29, so 43 isn't too bad. Thank you, TG. I appreciate that. Have a word with Namaste if you would, to let him know that, you know, I'm doing my best here. Again, D2 Rev with some curb action coming up through Radial. I'm really curious to see if this rain backs off up here or if it's just a graphical glitch. And yeah, raindrops on the windshield all the way up through, so it's got to be something with the broadcast cameras at this point. It does look like it's backing off, so...
Yeah, I was going to actually be really impressed if ACC has dynamic weather enough where certain parts of the track can be dry and others raining.
Yeah, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? As we jump back out. Because we all know that's what happens in real life. It'd be nice if that happened here too, right? Check in on Palm Tree Oil, currently running in 6th. CC says, I drive F1 2021 as well. Well, you would definitely fit in then, CC, because we do have an F1 2021 league run by Mr. Dan 00 Alpha over at Green Hell. So definitely hit that link and come join us. As you can see, no one is asking you to be the best driver when you join Green Hell Racing. We just ask you to do your best to be clean. And Namaste will yell and probably laugh at you if you have a lower essay. It's fine. Just ignore him.
Ooh, palm tree spinning it around.
And he has lost it heading into the bus stop. Letting Barry on through. Barry now claiming that P6. You know, I don't think we talk about it enough during these race streams, but anyone like Cece, who is watching right now, maybe you're just lurking and not chatting, but if you're interested in sim racing, it doesn't matter if you have a top-end rig. It doesn't matter if you're on a controller. We do have racers who drive on a controller. Come and join us. Green Hell is very welcoming. All we ask is that you do your best to be as clean as possible. You don't have to be fast. You will get faster by competing with a league. I'm still slow, but I have gotten faster. When I started with Green Hell, my top time on Spa, this track we're watching right now, my top time was a 2:27, and now I have hit a top time in the 2:22s. I'm not consistent yet, but I have hit a 2:22 on Spa. So again, no matter how fast or slow you are, you will get faster by competing with the league. I encourage anybody watching to do so. Take a look. D2 Rev again, our fastest driver in our AM class race today. Taking a quick look at the timetables. D2 holding out 11.3 seconds over Roadster. JB Racer right there. Let's take a quick jump back. Is Racer there? No. Why is it telling me that then? Whatever. ACC not playing nice with the timetables today.
Yeah, I think sometimes it waits till they hit the next sector before it actually updates it.
Yeah, the first lap is always the most fun because the person in first ends up in last, and then it kind of rolls through everybody as they pass that sector 1 line.
Yeah.
Sector 2, it's really strange.
It does. I'm pretty sure it does it for the drivers too. I don't really check it anymore, but I'm pretty sure it'll tell you you're in like last place even though you have every car behind you.
Yeah. Always so much fun. I wish I could get live timing on Xbox.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it even shows their lap times as they cross the line, does it?
No. Nope, not even a little bit. Roots are taking a little bit of a shortcut there through the grass and now bouncing through the grass, able to get it back on track. Looks like he's struggling just a bit. Definitely going to open that gap to D2 a little bit. JB Racer now looking to clear BB Lightfoot as the back marker. BB going wide for him, giving him that open air to look to start catching up to Roodster. Again, Red Rider currently running in 4th, all by himself out there, happy to just maintain consistency and hold on. Keep that 4th place finish if we can get down through the next 30.5 minutes.
I think you just gave him the commentator's curse there.
That's every time. Even if I didn't, I'll get blamed for it. There you go, Cece. El Dermo sliding and hydroplaning up along Blanchemont. It's hard though, Fife, when there's nobody close. It's harder to commentate. It's easier when there's a battle going on. TG Barry now off into the dirt. With Roodster coming up behind him. Roodster now 15 seconds, as we said, would open up a little bit as he went bouncing through the grass. Last lap, now 15 seconds off of D2 Rev's pace. Dan Double O Alpha joining the chat now. And Barry clearing room for Roodster to get on around as we come down the hill again.
Yeah, this is D2's race to lose at this point. He's got a nice 15-second buffer behind him.
Yeah, 100%. As long as he can stay consistent, he's going to hold this, right? So he's cleared Palm Tree Oil, which was his next back marker. He's out in front now. He's got clean air. As you said, it's his to lose. He just needs to stay consistent, and hopefully his fuel holds as well.
That I was just about to say. The Merc is a thirsty car, so he could end up having to do fuel saving toward the end.
Yeah. But now opened up to 17 seconds. And really, now they're playing with back markers. Both of them. So it's who can clear him faster, who can keep going. And then, as you said, is he going to have to play fuel saving at the end? And if he does, has he opened the gap enough to be able to do so without losing the position? D2 Rev down the hill again. There is nothing better than watching these guys. Roodster now into the pits. So Dan, I saw it in the chat. D2 Rev now going to have a significant lead because Roodster now has dove into the pits. And even if JB Racer gets ahead, he's going to be way, way back off of D2's time. So really now, D2 able, that right there gives him the ability to play that fuel saving a little bit more if he needs to.
Yeah, I think he's kind of run away with it. This is going to make the midfield a little more interesting, though. Mm-hmm. It looks like Outer Known got ahead of TG Barry. So, I mean, we still have 30 minutes to go. So if Roodster ends up, back down in 4th, 5th, 6th, it could get close.
Absolutely. Yeah, Namaste, it's Mr. Peanut Butter. No, Poppy is BK, Ferrari. So there it is, JB Racer now moving into 2nd. Roodster parked in the pits in 3rd in his Honda. We'll see Red Rider 47 seconds off pace. I don't see him catching up, but you never know. We have no clue how long Roodster's going to sit. If he had damage to repair, if he's doing a full tire change, Red may be able to get up there and take 4th position from him. Or, I'm sorry, 3rd position. And he did. Red is now ahead. I hate these timetables. Well, and the camera pulls in so close, I can't always tell where the guys are.
Which part of the track, yeah.
Yeah, because it pulls in so tight, you can't tell exactly where they are unless it's very, very recognizable. But Red Rider now coming back down the hill out of the carousel.
So it looks like Outer Known is right behind Palm Tree.
He is, and Roodster now coming back out of the pits in 5th. Palm Tree Oil slid, though, through the bus stop, giving outer known the opening to take P6. I must first drive a lot offline and learn setups. Cece, I would encourage you to go ahead and join us. Here's the thing. For a long time, I did the same thing. Drove offline. I only raced offline. I did the career. I did hot lapping. I did quick races, all that stuff, right? The thing is, until you have people who you can talk to about your setups, until you have people you can discuss track maps and track guides and things like this with, it's hard. You reach a plateau. I found myself, I reached a plateau. As I said, my fastest lap time at Spa was a 2:27. Once I started racing with these guys, and I started watching track guides on YouTube, I started racing with them, even in fun races. No one's asking you to join the season race, right? Do the fun races, things of that nature that get you out on track live, but you're not in a public lobby where there's a lot of unknowns, a lot of unknown drivers, and they're just waffling people because they think it's fun. I would say your best bet is to join us. Again, even if it's for fun races, you're going to improve just from that, right? And then you can decide, of course, when you want to join one of our seasons to race through all eight races, 7 races, whatever it might be, plus our endurance race at the end of the season. TG Barry now into the pits. Was that his second trip in?
Yeah, I think so. He refueled once already.
Yeah. He's saying fuel again. So he did not add enough. Definitely going to pay the price on it, because the Bentley does certainly have the juice to make 70 minutes of racing. As I just got huffed at about my dog staying down here with me, my wife stole him so that she could steal my dog. TG taking off to watch IndyCar, maybe see a Wild Chief Blaze out there. You might, TG. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. I appreciate you being here. I know our AM-class drivers do as well. Red Ryder now up into third, and JB Racer sitting in second. The rain continues. It continues to say at 10 and 30 minutes that it will slack off, but I have seen no significant slowing to this point, as our drivers continue to spread out. BB Lightfoot holding down the back of the pack, currently in P10. Red Ryder coming up on him as a back marker. Barry, I would not disagree with that statement. BB attempting to go wide, give him plenty of room. I don't find it on Discord. Hold on, Cece. Because maybe that link's out of date. It shouldn't be, but let me check real quick. Yeah, it found it for me. So, tell you what, Cece. What'd you find?
BB and Red Ryder got in a little
scuffle,
bit of contact on the straight. Yeah.
Red Ryder not going to tolerate that. Let me real quick, Cece. I will generate a new link for you, just to make sure. And Dan 00 Alpha hitting you up as well, but you can use that link right there. It's good for the next 7 days, I guess. I don't know how Discord works. I don't pay much attention to it. Red able to clear even with the tussling with BB. Long race at Spa today to be in the rain. Definitely stressful for our drivers as we come down to just around 21 minutes left to go. Let's take a quick walk through our standings. D2 Rev again leading out on his 18th lap right now. JB Racer in number 2, holding it down in his Honda. Red Rider currently sitting in third, followed by El Dermo. 6 seconds off his pace. Roodster sitting in fifth with Outer Known in sixth. Palm Tree Oil having given up a few positions, starting in seventh with TG Berry in eighth. Pierre in ninth, and BB Lightfoot currently sitting in 10th. And BB looks to be damaged up pretty good. We may see him back into the pits before the end of this lap.
Keeping an eye on Red and El Dermo. It's not a huge gap in between them.
Yeah,
See
correct.
if it
Yeah,
ends up closing or getting larger.
sitting at about 6.8 now, 7 seconds. But again, you know, Fife, it's like you said earlier, though. We're in the rain, right? We're in the rain. It's a long race. You get tired. There's 20 minutes left to go. All it takes is Red Rider slipping up once, going up through Eau Rouge, and that's the end of it, right? You're going to spin. Dermo's easily going to make up 7 seconds. That is not a long amount of time at all. And if I'm being honest right now, other than D2 Rev, I'm hoping the damn server holds, because everybody's ping is red right now as we watch El Dermo spins himself out, bouncing into
Yeah, I
the
didn't want to
wall.
say anything earlier. I was noticing somehow D2's pings in the 20s. Everybody else's was good at the start, but it started to rise.
Yeah, I'm really hoping the server holds out. We've certainly made it further than we did with the pro race, but let's hold on. Barry Goldfish in the chat saying he is on dry tires. That sounds like an error in judgment, sir. We are still showing rain at the 30-minute mark with only 20 minutes left to go. So the track will definitely remain wet through the rest of this race. Pierre now catching up to TG Berry. This camera, I swear to God. With Palm Tree Oil sitting between them. DT Bubs asking, where was D2 when we needed him to beat JB Racer on Wreckfest on Friday? Apparently not there to help us. TG Berry struggling now, as he said in the chat, that he is on dry tires. Not doing well at all. And now has slid and spun in a wicked circle through the bus stop, allowing Pierre to sneak through. Able to get himself back on track, but everybody's ping is making things really weird all of a sudden. And Barry electing to stay out, not heading into the pits, even though he has said he is on dries. Taking LaSource way wide.
Yeah, not only do you not have any tread to let the water flow through, but also I guarantee you his tires are solid dark blue right now, temp-wise.
Yeah. It looks like he's basically on ice skates as we follow him up through radio, and he is off again and into the wall and spinning. Yeah. If I'm Barry, I'm teleporting back at this point. I'm sitting in ninth. The race is not going well. D2 Rev now looking to clear BB Lightfoot as the back marker. Take a look back at JB Racer coming down the Camel straight in his Honda. We'll wait for a split time on that. 58 seconds now behind D2 Rev. D2 running away with this very quickly. Red Rider up through Eau Rouge one more time. I want to skip over El Dermo as he heads down, and Roodster right behind him. Only 15 seconds back at this point. We'll see if anything happens that allows him to close that gap. Barry Goldfish saying he's going to head into the pits as we watch him slide I mean, straight up. Listen, it's called the
That
Turtle
was
with No
some
Name.
Tokyo Drift
That
shit
was
right
some
there.
drifting, straight up pimp sliding that corner, is what that was. That was not. Yeah, no, I don't think it works that way. But to his credit, trying to get it back to the pits without losing it as we watch him scale off the wall and do a 360. It cannot be easy to drive that car at all right now. Barry's best bet is to slow down. You know, BB just showed 4 laps behind him. He's got time. As we jump up to D2 Rev again, up over radio. Stacey, I see you made it to CC. I hope that's how I say it. CC, I see you made it to Green Hell Racing. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, bring your friends. We enjoy good racing with good people. That is what we are here for.
We're up to like 300 or so people now, right?
Yeah, we are, but here's the thing. How many actives we got, right?
Yeah. Well, some people may join just to see streams and shit.
Which, you know what? Here's the thing. I think that's okay, but I think we should have a role for those people. I have no problem with that, right? I think it's great. If you want to come and interact with the community, I think that's absolutely wonderful. Maybe we should have a role for that, right? For spectators or watchers. D2 Rev now off track, bouncing himself off the wall. And as you said, it's not going to take much. I mean, there's lots of time for him to get spun, right? He's right back on it, coming down the hill. But
Hopefully
it just
not
goes to
too
show.
much damage. He's got it all in the front end though, which is not ideal because now he's possibly going to understeer even more than you already do in the rain.
Absolutely, and he's back on track. And again, a huge gap between him and Racer, right? But still, 14 minutes left to go.
Yeah, at this point though, I mean, as long as the car's still drivable, which it looks like he's not really having any trouble with it, he should just stay out even if he's got a little bit of damage on the front. Because yeah, he's got almost a whole minute buffer. Dan said, "Cull it," talking about the numbers in the Discord.
He is, and to a point, I agree. But if we have people that want to watch, I encourage them. I think they should join us. You know, something they could do
Is there a limit on Discord users?
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. You know, I don't like on race weekends. I don't like talk about it. But the other option is to join my Discord because they'll get notification of when. Well, no, I don't. But I don't normally say anything. But I do always post a notification when the races are starting. Right. So either way, they're gonna find out. It doesn't really matter. It's whatever. But I'll hit up. I've already got an open chat going with certain people, and I'll hit them up and say, hey, can we get a spectator role maybe?
It looks like Barry's swapping to. I think Barry's swapping to wets. Said he tried something risky and it did not go well.
Well, given it is pouring as we watch D2 continue, BB Lightfoot now letting JB on by. I'm not sure why you drop dries on, but whatever works for you. Barry, hit it and quit it, buddy.
Could have been hoping or thinking the track was going to dry out.
Yeah, the issue now is I'm looking at him in the pits, and his windshield's completely destroyed, which means he's got massive amount of damage. He will be in there for quite some time. We'll see if he can come back out ahead of BB Lightfoot and hold on to P9. Dan saying he already talked to Zorax about role selection and adding new ones. And I agree with that. I think we absolutely should. If there are people that want to join, if there's people watching now, again, we have 25 viewers here. I don't know that all of those people are members of Green Hell Racing. If you want to come and watch races, you should absolutely join. And I just think there should be a role for that, and folks can participate in the community, talk about the races, talk about the cars, whatever you want to do. I think we can be inclusive of that, right? BB Lightfoot now into the pits. Can we get beat on him? He drove in, but he is struggling. In front of that Bentley, not looking good, and that wing is bent for sure. He has obviously had an incident somewhere out on track. D2 Rev able to maintain a 47-second gap back to JB Racer in second.
So JB Racer's actually closing it because it was about 58 seconds
Yeah, it was. Now, was
a
that
lap
before?
ago.
Was that before or after? Was it that much? Just because we know D2 Rev
It
spun
was
about two
after he got
laps
in the
ago, right?
accident, but yeah, it
Okay,
might have not updated. The next update after that 58 might have been 40 something, but
gotcha.
yeah, I'm interested to see. It's crazy. The Honda's not exactly the best car balancer performance wise, except for the Intercontinental track. So
Well, and that's what I was saying at the beginning before you joined, because we saw it. I think with Roodster qualified in second, and I remember talk last week because Dunn drove it. Dunn, normally an Audi driver, came up, joined the race in the Honda at Zandvoort. And everybody, Red was talking about how the Honda's not strong, it's not the strongest vehicle, et cetera, et cetera. But Rooster qualified in second, right? So, and now we see JB in the Honda running in second for the race with just over 10 minutes to go. I don't know, I don't want to say the Honda's strong, but it certainly doesn't seem to be suffering in the rain here at Spa.
yeah, I was gonna say maybe here it's just a rain thing. Top speed doesn't matter quite as much when you're dealing with rain. All
Mm-hmm.
these cars are running high downforce.
Okay. Dan saying JB is fast, very fast, and he's on a pad. JB Racer driving on a controller today.
That's even more impressive than being
It
in second
is.
in the Honda.
It is. And that's what I was saying earlier, to CC, which I know CC said they have the Club Sport V 2.5s, but I'm saying anybody welcome to join us. It doesn't matter if you're a controller racer, we accept you. Come out and drive. Just be clean. I think BB Lightfoot at this point has given up the ghost and said, I am going to stay in the pits. The damage looks repaired. That wing still looks cockeyed, but he is not moving out of the pits at this time. D2 Rev still showing damage on the front of that Mercedes, but holding strong now with a 49.5 second gap back to JB Racer. Red Rider, some strong, consistent racing today, minding his business, as we discussed during the Pro Class race with Max Charb and Dan. Really, if you can mind your business, especially on a long race like this, 70 minutes, you're in the rain, it's a long course, keep to yourself, stay out of trouble, stay consistent, and now we see Red Rider currently running in second, and that is, or I'm sorry, in third, and that is not where he qualified, having moved himself up a little bit.
Good news is it looks like the server's gotten back down as far as ping.
Calm down, yeah, a little bit. Red Rider even showing a lower ping, which normally we know he is sitting right up there in the red. Only Roodster and Palm Tree Oil suffering a little bit of ping lag right now, but still both able to stay connected.
Now, has Roodster been reeling in El Dermo? Have they been about 7 seconds apart for a while?
I think so, yeah. Let's take a look. 6.4, so it is tightening because the last I looked was 7. Outer Known down 2 laps at this point, so not in contention with the top 5 between El Dermo and Roodster unless something crazy happens. But El Dermo holding 6.4 now over Roodster. And now, where do we go? Roodster now spun, was closing the gap down to 5 seconds, but now spun.
That was a big impact too.
It was, and I lost it just as it happened, but came right back. Now obviously going to be a good bit back further from El Dermo. We'll see if he can hold it on track for the rest of this race. The 6.5 minutes left to go.
Yeah, I think as long as the steering wheel's straight, he should stay out because
Mm-hmm.
Outer Known's still, I think, a decent gap behind now. But there's only 6 minutes left, so even if he's losing, a few seconds a lap, he should be able to hold him off.
Yeah. And again, just under 6 minutes left to go in today's AM class race for Green Hell Racing. Rootster staying out. Not enough damage to make him want to come in right now. Should wait and see for a time to come in on between D2 Rev and JB Racer. Check and see what that gap is down to. Red holding a 41-second gap behind Racer. Obviously, again, and 18 seconds over El Dermo. I'm sure happy right now just to continually drive his own pace and maintain that P3 without issue. JB in his Honda. Coming down fast into the bus stop. We'll get a time right here. And no, we won't. It just went from one lap to blank, so it's not going to tell me. Whatever. Game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's close enough to.
It says
Unless
6.4
D2
seconds.
crashes out.
Well, it
That's
says
completely
6.4 seconds, and I'm like, really? Because we just watched him for 30. So I'm not sure how that works, but whatever. Ryder going wide coming down the hill, but again, holding very stable today. Max Charb saying impressed with Red, quite steady in the rain with that Lambo. And he has been as he comes through bus stop. Ready to
Yeah,
start
it sounded
one more
like
lap.
the Lambo wasn't the crowd favorite in the pro race with the rain.
Not at all, but Red has shown steady wins the race, right? Currently in P3 and looks to hold that. 25 laps down as we take a look again at D2 Rev. After a little trouble at Zandvoort last week, has really owned this race today after getting ahead of Outer Known early. Outer Known then having an incident pushing himself off into the wall. It has been D2's race to lose, as Mr. B. Fife said earlier, and he has done well to stick with it. One little spin, but again, enough time between him and the gap to back to JB Racer, he was able to recover and continue driving without any issue.
Yeah, he's in a good spot where as long as he doesn't severely damage his car, he can make, a mistake or two and slide, spin out, and he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Yep. And now coming up on the back of BB Lightfoot. Did rain ever slow down or intensity reduce? Here's the thing, Namaste. We don't really know. It looks the same to us on this end. It looked the same around the whole track as we went on board earlier with D2 Rev. It's now saying 30 minutes out we will have just cloudiness, but with only 2.5 minutes left to go, that's not going to matter. So it's hard to tell. That's the lesson from that, is that it is hard to tell. From our perspective here in the broadcast booth, at times it looks like the rain stops at certain parts of the track, and that we know that that's just not true after going on board with a few of the drivers. JB Racer crossing the line one more time. This may be his last lap with only 1:50 left to go. We'll see if D2 Rev gets to cross the line one more time and need to put in one more lap. BB Lightfoot holding him up just a little bit right now. And now clearing the path to let D2 run with it. Overall, again, only 10 drivers on track for our AM class race today, but overall, guys, excellent racing from our AM class at Green Hell Racing. Very clean, very few incidents in the rain at Spa. Never something easy, especially for 70 minutes straight. And these guys held it together the whole time. Individual issues notwithstanding, I didn't see a whole lot of incidents today.
Yeah, turn one was impressive actually.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, I think that comes down to a couple things. One, they're AM class, as AM class drivers, they know they want to be a little more cautious. I know I do as an AM class driver, right? I want to be a little more cautious. And maybe I'm speaking out of turn here for these guys, and I don't think I should speak for them. But number two, call it an advantage, but they got to watch what happened in pro. They got to watch the show that was, T1, lap 1.
Interesting to say. at least.
Just a tad, right? And everybody that was involved. So having that foresight and knowing, okay, I'm coming in the rain. The race has started. It's raining. I'm not going to jam it up. I'm not going to jam it up through Eau Rouge and Radio. I'm going to play it safe and know that I've got 70 more minutes that I don't have to worry about it. So get spread out. Let's take our time. I'll make passes where I can instead of trying to throw it all into T1. And we will see D2 Rev make one more lap as he comes down through. Looking to take that hill. He has been very consistent today. And we don't certainly want to curse him up here in the booth, but
yeah, I
excellent
was
job.
about to say something about fuel. Like, with the rainy weather, he should be good on fuel, but now I'm scared he's going to put her off into the side.
Let's take a look. I don't think it will tell us. I think it's one of the things we don't get to know, just like the tire pressures. As we go on board with D2 Rev here in his final lap. And yeah, fuel calc just showing 0, so we don't get to know any of that fancy stuff here towards the end. Overall, excellent driving from everybody today as JB Racer heads down the hill for his final lap. Red Rider just coming into the bus stop. We'll see if he has to do another lap or not. Not 100% sure what the cutoff is there.
I think if D2's ahead of him, he shouldn't have to. I don't think.
He does. He's still got the green flag, so let's go. One more lap for Red Rider. Epic said, did they get through with mid-rain as we had heavy? That was a nightmare. I think you had more problems than just the rain, Epic, but I'm not 100% sure. But yes, all our drivers excellent in the M class today, raining the entire 70 minutes as we watch Red Rider for his final pass up over Radion. El Dermo coming down for one more as well. And Rootster in number 5 doing the same. Outer Known coming out of Blanchimont. Headed towards the bus stop. Outer Known might be the cutoff because he's a full lap down. I'm not sure. What? Yeah, okay. D2 Rev got further ahead than I thought.
Yeah, so D2 finished. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if Outer Known has to do another lap or not.
Oh, cleared him out. So right there it is, folks. D2 Rev is your winner of the AM Class Spa 70 minutes today. Outer Known having finished in 6th. JB Racer now coming around to finish his final lap.
The good thing for everyone in here that maybe didn't have the race they wanted to, with only 10 drivers, you're not really going to be losing a crazy amount of points because the worst you could finish was 10th as compared to 20th, in a full lobby.
True. So watch JB come through the bus stop one last time. Everybody with a top 10 finish today. Can't complain about that.
Right.
JB finishing in 2nd. Red Rider now holding 3rd. Again, our drivers very well spread out. Red down through Blanchimont. Stuck between 2 back markers. Palm Tree Oil and Pierre, but able to drive his own race today. Cannot be disappointed with a 3rd place finish in the rain. as he winds his way through the bus stop one more time. Palm Tree clearing a path even though it is not necessary. Red Rider, there are your top three. D2 Rev, JB Racer, and Red Rider. As we watch El Dermo come through now with Roodster just a bit behind. So excellent racing from all our AM Class drivers today. In the rain, 70 minutes at Spa, not an easy task. Fife, thank you so much for joining me up here. I appreciate it, man. Having some company is always a good thing. Very much appreciated. As we watch Roodster come across, TG Berry will finish in 9th. Who be that?
Oh, we got Red in here.
Red Rider. Hey, excellent driving today, sir.
How did that go?
That went fantastic. You finished in 3rd. I think you did an excellent job today. You stayed.
How did everybody else do?
A couple small incidents. Mainly, I think everyone doing it to themselves. I really don't recall seeing any bumping and boffing back and forth.
Okay.
Everybody had spread out pretty well, and any spins were caused. I mean, even D2 Rev, who finished in 1st at one point, spun himself out, but recovered and got back on track. Right. So.
Okay,
really
good deal.
Driving today. Really good driving today.
You didn't happen to see me hit BB, did you?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, the ping rate went through the roof. It was nobody's fault. Just like everybody there for about 2 laps, their ping rate was all in the red except for D2. I don't know what sort of sorcery he did.
We actually talked about that because we found that everybody's ping rate went through the roof except for D2 up front. And everybody was red. Everybody had a red ping. So, and then all of a sudden it calmed back down. So at least the server stayed up this time. We got the full 70 minutes in.
Well, we locked it out this time.
Excellent driving for you guys. Really good job. Really good
deal.
job.
I can't wait to watch it back.
So I will get her cut down for you guys. And I thank, again, B-Fight for joining me in here today. Very much appreciated, sir. And,
thanks for having me.
Absolutely. You're welcome anytime. We'll keep you all around, but I'm going to close this out. Thank you, everybody in the chat. I appreciate you joining me today. Very, very much. Excellent racing from both our pro and AM class drivers today. Everybody stick around. We will be back next week as we jump up, take a quick look at that calendar. Where are we next week? We are at Silverstone for 2 sprint races. Red, let me ask you, has anybody settled? Are these 20-minute or 30-minute sprints?
I think they're 20, but
20s? Okay.
I can be overruled very easily. So I assume it's 20.
Here's the deal. Either way, be back here next week, next Sunday, September 19th for 2 sprint races at Silverstone. We will cover both of those, and I will make sure that I have the rules up front as to what's going to happen and how, so that we can provide that information to everybody. Thanks so much to everybody for joining today. Thank you, Red, for the pro class assist on the commentary, and same to you, B.
Oh, no problem. Anytime, buddy.
B Fife. What am I doing? I get confused.
He's gonna quit, man. He won't be back now.
Yeah, but after 3.5 hours, I'm burnt, so I apologize. You guys are awesome. Stick around, guys. Again, we'll be back next week. Thanks so much for everybody for joining. Have a great weekend.